We have 4 steps for how to set up your phone to use it in any country. What? Who are we?
We are Chris and Steve with Eat, Walk, Learn. We are currently in Auckland, New Zealand, having a fabulous time down under and just really enjoying our full-time nomadic life. We've been traveling full-time since 2021, and we always get questions about our cell phones, and things have changed, and so we decided that we would come up with another video on here are the steps that you have to take before you leave the United States to make sure that you can use your phone in any country effectively and affordably.
Yeah, because we already did a video on this. It was highly popular, and from that we got a lot of questions, and so we're going to do a second video on how to set up your phone. And so what we're really talking about is and this is for Americans, okay? The general concept that we're talking about can be applied anywhere, but there's some particular solutions that we're going to give you today that sadly only Americans can do with an American phone number. So, the Americans, they cruise around the U.S., they've got their Verizon or their Sprint or their Google Fi or, all of their, whatever their cell phone plan is. And then they get ready to leave the U.S. and all of a sudden they're like, what's going to happen?
Yeah. And particularly the people who say, my plan, I have T-Mobile and it's a great plan and it works everywhere. Yes, maybe it works everywhere at the cost of maybe $10 a day. And that can get really expensive.
Right. So Verizon's $10, Sprint's $10, whatever. They all have different prices, or maybe the data gets more expensive or whatever. What we know is all these American plans, once you leave the U.S. and you leave the U.S. for a while, they are not a sustainable solution, and we have come up with a solution that is. This even includes Google Fi. We have been Google Fi fans for a really long time. We got fired by Google Fi. You can watch our video here about getting fired and what we did. And we learned that Google Fi also is not a sustainable solution if you're gone for, it used to be 6 months with Google Fi. I think it's now 3 months. If you're out of the U.S. for longer than that period of time, your typical American plans are not going to work for you. And also, the solution we're going to give you is for both iPhone and Android or Samsung or any of the devices that might be out there that you're using. Even if you have an older device, you just want to double check that on the different websites we're going to give you that they're compatible for your older phone. You may not be able to get an eSIM, which we'll explain in a minute, or you may only be able to get an eSIM depending on what type of phone you have.
Right.
So we're going to walk through these steps and provide you a solution that gives you a couple things. It keeps your U.S. phone number. It allows for your 2-factor authentication. Those are those texts you get from your bank and whatever that wants to confirm you are who you are.
Right.
You'll be able to still get those. You'll be able to make phone calls. And, of course, you'll still be able to surf the internet and use all those GPS and Google services that we all become so reliable on as we travel.
Yeah, so maybe we should break that down a little bit because I used to think about my phone service as being really all in one. I've got my phone number and my data, and it's all connected.
Right. And I don't think as Americans we think about those are actually 2 features that are put together into one plan until you have to figure out how to replace both parts of those features when you travel. So the first part that we're going to talk about is keeping that phone number. So this is step number 1.
Right.
Step number 1.
Step number 1 is to move your U.S. phone number over to Google Voice. Now, this has to be done really close, but while you're still in the United States.
Well, what is Google Voice? Let's start off with that.
So Google Voice is a free phone service from Google, and it allows you to do the texting, phone calls, 2-factor authentication as if you have a regular, phone plan.
Right.
It has to be done. You have to move your number to Google Voice before you leave the country.
Right.
This is really important. I made this mistake once. So make sure that you do it before, but know that if you currently with like a Verizon or whatever, and you move your phone number over to a different plan. You're moving your phone number to a different plan.
You're porting your phone number over, that's what I say. Yeah.
You'll be able to make phone calls and you'll be able to get text messages, but you won't have the data that's associated with your old plan.
Right.
So you need to be able to make your mobile data decision at the same time.
Right. So let's say you're leaving on February 1st, probably about January 25th, maybe a week before, is when you want to move your phone over to Google Voice. It actually takes about 1 to 2 days for your number to port. All that technology's got to catch up. It'll take it'll take some time, so it's not instantaneous. Plan for that. And then once your phone number, like Steve said, is over at Google Voice, you have to make a plan about your data, because Google Voice doesn't have data. It's just a phone number, and it's just your texting, your two-factor authentication, and your messaging.
Right.
Okay, so once you have your Google Voice number set up, you go to step number 2.
Okay, step number 2 is put a small deposit into your Google Voice account. And again, we learned this the hard way. We were in Italy, I think, and we wanted to make a phone call to somebody else in Italy. And
Google said,
Google just said, no, you can't do it, you can't do it. We finally figured out that international calls, even though we were from Italy making a call to Italy, that's considered an international call because we're calling outside of the United States. It was like 2 cents a minute.
Or even a penny a minute or something.
It's super cheap. But because we hadn't actually made, and I think I made a $10, deposit into my particular account, and then everything worked fine.
Right, so let's just be clear about what an international call is.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in Paris with my US phone number, and I want to call my daughter who is in Kansas City. Is that an international call?
Kansas City is pretty foreign to me.
No, it is not an international call.
Kansas City is in the
Even
USA.
though I'm in Paris, I'm on my US phone number, I'm calling Kansas City. It's a local, listen to us boomers, a local call. It doesn't cost you any money. Okay, I'm sitting in Paris and I want to call Italy.
That is an international call.
Right, I'm sitting in Paris and I want to call another city or another place in Paris.
Yeah, it's still an international call.
Right.
As the example is, I had to call this guy that would basically this restaurant to make a reservation. It was right down the street, and it was an international call.
Right. And so, we've seen. I think I've had $10 in my account. I think it's down to $8.50 after 3 years. Yeah. So it's more like a nuisance charge than an actual charge to be able to use it. Anyway,
cheap calls.
Cheap. Okay, so step number 2 is complete. You've got your money in your Google Voice account. Step number 3, this is the big one, which is?
You got to make a decision about your data plan, right? So we all know we're out and about with our phone, and we're getting directions, and we're Googling things, and we're searching for pulling up our different apps and things like that.
We're checking our email, and we're doing all this.
It's using data. And everybody has a different, love-hate relationship with their data plan. Maybe it's an unlimited plan, and you can be streaming videos and all kinds of things, and you don't have to worry about it. Or maybe you've got a plan where you can only use a certain amount per day. So while you're international, you need to make those same decisions. And this is where you have a lot of choices.
Right. So there's 2 ways to describe this. One is you need a data plan. The other way is people might say you need to get a SIM card. Now, a SIM card, there's 2 different options here. So we're still on step 3, and there's the Team Steve option and the Team Chris option. We're going to explain what those are. So a SIM card is it's either a physical piece of hardware. It's not very big. It sticks in your phone, and that's what runs your data plan. Or you can do an eSIM card, which is a software solution that solves the same problem. It downloads onto your phone and allows you to use data on your phone. Right?
Can also be a phone number.
Well, and your SIM card, whether it's an eSIM or a physical SIM, actually has a phone number on it. Right. But as that's not the phone number you're going to use. You're going to still continue to use your Google Voice phone number. That's your US-based phone number. Because that SIM card phone number, it can be a phone number from anywhere. I think mine is from Pakistan or something. I can't remember.
This is where we have a little bit of difference of how we do things. So, Chris,
right? So
tell them your solution, and then I will tell them my solution, and we'll compromise.
Right. So when you make comments below, you need to be on Team Chris or Team Steve. So we disagree about how to do data plans. You would think we would come together on this, but ultimately it's actually good that we disagree, but we'll explain that. So Team Chris I am a huge fan of eSIMs. Now eSIMs, it's a piece of software, you download it on your phone, you set it up, and boom, your data works. Now, in both SIMs and eSIMs, you can either get a regional plan, which is maybe your country or your city where you are, or you can get a global plan, which covers the world. I prefer to use an eSIM, and the company I prefer to use is FlexiRoam. We have in the description is a referral link for FlexiRoam. If you use my referral link, I think you get 100 gig or I get 100 gig or something. We get something special if you use it. Anyway, what I like about FlexiRoam is I downloaded it maybe in the US. I don't remember where I downloaded it from, but I downloaded it once, and every time I land, every country I change, it works automatically. I don't need to do anything except up the plan. When the money runs out, I just buy another plan or renew the existing plan. So with FlexiRoam, the global plan, the list price for the global plan is ridiculous price. I don't believe that they put the price on the website, but they have coupons all the time. So you grab the coupon, you get about 11 gig for about $65, and it lasts 360 days. This is why I love it. So I use it all the time. I don't have to worry about it expiring. I don't have to worry about, I was in France and now I'm in Italy, I need to change plans. Or I was in Europe and now I'm in Australia, I need to change plans. It works all the time. It's not the most cheap plan, but to me, it's the most inconvenient plan. I don't have to spend time looking for SIMs, going to these different vendors, taking time out of my day in order to make it work. It just works. And when it doesn't work, which those times do happen, not often, the tech support is on WhatsApp. I get on WhatsApp. We solve the problem. I do screenshots back and forth. It gets solved. I don't have any drama and trauma. I'm done. I may spend a little bit more, but I don't have to deal with it, period. And then there's Team Steve.
No. I need to reinforce Team Chris, because there's a couple of times, a couple of situations where her plan, her idea is great. And again, she's using a company called FlexiRoam. It works in almost every country, and it works. It's pretty flawless. The reason that I love that is that you could be flying from one country to another country, and as soon as you land, as soon as those wheels touch down, her phone works. She just turns it on and it works, and she's connected. And we're finding local transportation. We're finding out where the ATM is. We're getting, where's the hotel. So all that information, everything that you use your phone for when you get to a new place, it's all working for her automatically. So I'm a big fan of that. And in fact, that is my backup solution as well. And FlexiRoam is eSIM only. So if you have an older phone and it doesn't handle eSIMs, it only handles physical SIMs, there are other solutions like that. But pick a solution where you can go from country to country seamlessly and you not have to worry.
And I do want to add that FlexiRoam has regional plans that are cheaper than that $65. But then that requires I have to change it between countries and so on. And I just don't want to do that. I mean, I'd rather pay $3 or $4 extra more and not have to deal with that.
But wait, now
there's the Team Steve plan.
Team Steve. And this is very simple. And I'm going to have a lot of people that's going to be on my team. And that is, when I land in a new country, I get a new SIM card. And for example, like we're basically in Australia. We're taking a little side trip to New Zealand. We're in Australia. When I got to Australia, I knew that we were going to be there for 5.5 months. And I got a great plan on an unlimited data plan for 6 months with a SIM card in my phone. It's a physical SIM. I stopped into the store. Yeah, I had to wait a little bit.
An hour at least.
It was a small wait. But again, the service is great. The guy is right there, and he gets all the data, puts it all together. In some cases, in some countries, we've actually found that you need to have your passport. So this is, again, regulations and rules and commerce of some various countries. So make sure you get your passport ready. But pop that SIM card in. Again, it is super inexpensive. I think I paid $80 for 6 months of unlimited data. Now try to do that in the United States.
Yeah, well, you can't.
Let me finish. It's better than that because I do also have an Australian phone number. And in a couple of situations, this has become in really handy. Like when you go to buy something and they say, what's your phone number? And you go to plug your US and it doesn't work. You have to give them a local phone number. And so that has worked in a couple places. Or if I'm in Australia and I want to call somebody in Australia, I'm using that SIM. I'm not using my US phone number, my Google Voice phone number. I'm using my local SIM, and it doesn't cost anything because it's included in the plan. So there's some, and again, you say, well, you're going to go crazy switching. No, you don't go crazy. It's really easy to go between one SIM and the other SIM, a couple of clicks. And again, it just makes sense. So
yeah, but
that's my
you're
solution.
giving your Australia example. We've been in other countries where it wasn't English speaking. The instructions were in a third language. The currency was in a different language. It was tough to find the tech support. We went and they're like speaking in whatever language, and you're just like,
And again, within an hour, you get it all figured out.
I don't know. If I had an hour of time, I would rather be at the Louvre looking at the Mona Lisa than looking at a tech support guy in the tech support store.
I'm your Mona Lisa.
Oh. Anyway, pros and cons to both. Of course, Steve's solution, and Steve's solution is cheaper. It does take time. Sometimes it doesn't take time at all. Sometimes in the airport, there's the SIM card solution that works. He pops it in. 2 minutes later, we're still waiting for our bags if we've checked, which we don't check our bags, but we're waiting for, I don't know, the Uber to arrive. Anyway, so it is a solution that works a lot of the time for a lot of people. Me personally, I'm on team convenient. Steve's on team more affordable. And but the bottom line is actually, because we have these two different solutions, we've been able to bail each other out in the situations where our personal solutions didn't work.
Right.
And that's actually been the wealth of it all, truly.
Yeah.
So if our bottom line recommendation would be if one of you could do one and one of you could do the other, it might be the best solution of all.
Yeah. I agree with that. And again, so Chris talked about, FlexiRoam is the choice that she uses. That's actually also my backup. So I'm looking at 3 different ways to solve the same problem.
Yeah, but I don't have any SIM cards at all. But you have a whole bevy of SIM cards.
And I was talking about the physical SIM card. Well, I could also have done an eSIM, so you don't necessarily have to stop into the store and have them open up my phone and put take the card out and put the card in. To me, I think that's easy because I've got a person right there making sure that the settings have been changed, because there's a few different settings you need to change on your phone depending on your location. And I feel like I'm getting that customer service by going into the store and getting that physical card. So
thanks for sticking with us. Again, we're not tech support. FlexiRoam tech support's here. Google Voice's tech support is in the description. Please go there. Please don't. We won't even answer your questions because we can't.
And just to rewind back to the beginning, these decisions need to be made before you leave the U.S. Don't get to another country and say, okay, now I want to move my phone number to Google Voice so that I can get, do this additional SIM card. It's not going to work. Google Voice requires you to be, and it knows where you are.
If anybody knows where you are, it's Google. So again, as with Steve saying, timing is really important. So the 3 or 4 days before you launch for your Nomad life, you've switched your phone to Google Voice. You're using the Google Voice app on your phone to make phone calls and so on. You have a different data plan, and in the U.S., you may have gone to 7-Eleven or you may have gone to Verizon or whatever and bought one of their temporary data plan, SIM codes or whatever. Some sort of prepaid plan that you're using just for the 3 or 4 days that you have left in the U.S. Or if you've done an eSIM, you can activate FlexiRoam in the U.S. and just use the U.S. version of the plan. So in that little time period before you launch, you may have a temporary solution that then you recreate, you continue as you move on with a different data plan as you land in the different countries that you're going to be in. Now, step 4, we can't forget step 4, which is install WhatsApp.
Install WhatsApp.
Yes. WhatsApp is a fabulous tool. If you don't have it, this is what the rest of the world uses to communicate. Nobody makes phone calls.
Everybody uses WhatsApp, right?
Everybody uses WhatsApp. I mean, I think I actually had to spend time before we left teaching friends and family how to use WhatsApp. It was very well used time. I got them to download it, set it up so they knew how to use it. But WhatsApp is used everywhere. I mean, the doctors around the world, restaurants around the world, schools around the world, friends, other nomads. Everybody uses WhatsApp. Nobody uses their phone. Right. Nobody uses their phone to text. Nobody uses their phone to make phone calls. They use WhatsApp, which is on their phone, to make phone calls, send files, share information, communicate. Use the geolocator tool. I mean, we use it like when we're trying to meet other nomads. We'll geolocate each other through WhatsApp, and it'll tell us exactly where they're sitting in the cafe. And it's the tool.
Can't hide.
So make sure you download WhatsApp and get used to using that as your 4th step. So, number 1, get Google Voice. Number 2, put money in your Google Voice. Number 3, get your data plan, either FlexiRoam as an eSIM or get a SIM card, wherever you get that from, many places. And number 4, install WhatsApp. If you have questions or that aren't tech support, we are glad to answer them. Tell us your scenario. We'll be glad to help you. Disagree? Are you on Team Chris? Yay! Or Team Steve? Woo! And we'd love to hear what you have to say. Talk to you soon.